What is Conan's best building set from the bazaar? The in-game store has plenty of building sets that come and go, but which one sits at the top? Today I'll be ranking them all from worst to best and giving you my view on it. Also do bear in mind this is done under the assumption of owning all the traditional DLC packs. So let's begin. Starting at the bottom in 10th place, War-Torn Numidian is so incredibly niche that I don't think it will be of much use for 95% of people. If you're role-playing as a Numidian or designing a destroyed Numidian base, it might be okay, but it's just not something for most people. In the entire time I've had it, I think I've used it twice, and one of those times was to review it. Far too niche, and for me there's not enough pieces here to make it worthwhile. War-Torn Numidian really can't command more than 10th place. Coming in next, White Arcane. This isn't really a building set as such, it's more of an augment bundle. It's unique and parts of it do work well with Aquilonian and Argosian, but it is a fair bit less flexible than the Black Battle Pass version of these items. White Arcane is fine, but very restrictive in how it works with other sets outside of the base game options. It also doesn't really offer a lot in the set itself, so it sits in 9th place. Next, the Turanian expansion. I gotta be honest, this doesn't really do much for me. It has a couple of nice pieces and unique options in the 4-piece dome roofs and the decorative ceilings, but I think the rest of the set is kind of mid at best or bad at worst. I see the vision, but I don't think the execution was there, and on the technical side, using things like corner pillars or round walls are far harder in this set compared to other sets that have the same sort of tiles. Therefore, the Turanian extension gets 8th place. In 7th place is Lost Dungeon. This set can be pretty difficult to use, it's monotonous and fiddly, but it's practically the best option for a grimy dungeon. Additionally, you can actually get some quite nice designs out of it, but it does require a fair bit of practice. It's not something you can just slap down and have a build that looks good. Dungeon has grown on me a lot since its release, but compared to others and the amount of time and effort you have to put into it to make it look good, it just can't sit any higher than 7th place, though it is not necessarily a bad set. At 6th place is Sandstone Timber. Contrary to its placement, this set is honestly pretty great. It takes a simple and almost boring material in sandstone and makes it into something really quite nice. It definitely shows signs of being the first bazaar set ever added, but it more than makes up for some of its shortcomings. That being said, its usefulness is limited as a tier 1 set, and because it lacks a few items it has little cohesion with other materials, unfortunately. Because of that, it can't really go much higher than 6th. Pyramid comes in at 5th place, right in the middle. Pyramid can seem quite monotonous at first, and it is, if you follow the precepts of using it exclusively for pyramids. If you start to think outside the box a little, it's actually quite a good building set. A little fiddly at times, sure, but overall it's quite nice and it gels really well with sets like Argosian, Aquilonian, Turanian, and even Stormglass to a degree. Pyramid is one of those sets where it's kind of what you make of it. With a bit of thought you can do a lot, however it's not amazing right out of the gate and thus sits at number 5. At 4th place is a Seer. I've made no secret of how much I enjoy this set, it really is quite great. It's easy to use and hits a really nice Norse aesthetic, however it does suffer from some monotony issues if you're not careful. Without good pattern breaks and mixing tones, it can end up very samey, but when you get it right, it's wonderful. A Seer is a great set and has a huge degree of flexibility, but again can really suffer from everything being the same sort of tone and colour, therefore it nestles into 4th place. Before we get into the top 3, it seems only right to touch briefly on the couple of building pieces that aren't full sets or extensions and thus don't really qualify for this list but are still buildables. Yamatai Onsen's bamboo pieces are quite nice but incredibly limited and you'll likely struggle to use them to any great degree. The King's board set is super restrictive seeing as it's, well, just foundations, but it can work well when paired with Argosian and Aquilonian for the white pieces and Stormglass or Turanian for the black pieces. Finally, the Zingaran pergola pieces are really limited but very nice. I wish they'd make a full set of these, but in their current state, you can make them work, you just need to mix it with a few other sets to get them to be even passable. Also, if you're enjoying the video, consider joining as a member here on YouTube or as an esteemed coffee cultist on Patreon to support the channel. Shameless self-promotion done, let's get into the top 3. In third place, the Argosian Observatory extension. I gotta be honest, these top 3 are separated by a tiny margin, but I think the Argosian Observatory has to go in third. It's a phenomenal extension that modernises Argosian and introduces some pieces that can really go with other sets. It's easy to use and can produce some beautiful results, but just a couple of things prevent it from going higher, like the lack of curved sloped sides for the roof pieces, low detail atop the ceilings, and the fact that Argosian was already a pretty decent set before this expansion. Argosian Observatory is exceptionally great, but it can get a bit samey. Again, everything in the top 3 is separated by possibly the slimmest margin known to man. I think on any given day, any of these 3 could potentially swap places, but right now I think the Argosian Observatory extension takes the third place. After much debate between this and the top entry, Stormglass Sanctum settles into second place. This set is fantastic. Stormglass itself was already popular, but this extension improves it by leaps and bounds. It does have a very slight issue with monotony because everything is sort of the same colour and texture, but most of the time that isn't really a factor. It seems to be a fan favourite, and for good reason. If you love Stormglass, you will love Stormglass Sanctum. It also combos well with Argosian, Aquilonian and Turanian, with limited options to mesh with other sets like Numidian or possibly even Pyramid. Stormglass Sanctum is a really great set, but ends up in second place as it just gets edged out by the next entry. In the top spot, the Yamatai Towers extension. The Yamatai DLC is one of Conan's oldest sets and it showed, but Yamatai Towers brings it into the modern day with some truly top-notch additions like awnings, rafter pieces, light-sensitive shoji walls and more. Not only does it pretty much entirely revive the Yamatai set, it also aids with a lot of other popular sets. Argosian, Aquilonian, Numidian and even some others can use the new walls and doors as interior pieces, which solves the issue of those sets feeling rather dense inside, and even though the motif is Yamatai, it doesn't really feel out of place there. Yamatai Towers is a supremely impressive extension. It can be quaint and modest or grand and regal, and it can be used to augment and benefit other popular sets. Though it may only take it by a small margin, Yamatai Towers is, in my opinion, Conan's best Bazaar building set. I gotta be honest, the top 5 or 6 in general were pretty difficult to decide on. If you agree, let me know, and if you think I got it wrong and I'm an idiot, also let me know. This is ultimately just my opinion. If you're using this video as sort of advice on which building set you should get, I have full reviews of almost every set mentioned in this video, alongside reviews of some of the other Bazaar deco and armour bundles as well. Do check them out. That will wrap us up for today. Thanks for watching, and a massive thanks to our wonderful esteemed coffee cultists for continuing to support the channel over on Patreon. If you want to support the channel yourself, check out the Patreon through the link in the description, or join as a member here on YouTube by clicking join just below this video. Take care, and I'll see you soon.